Want scary stories? Listen.
She was alone in the confession booth. The priest had stepped out minutes ago. The church was empty. She could hear the silence, that specific silence of old stone buildings, heavy, still. And then, from the other side of the thin wooden partition, something breathed. Not a person. The breathing was wrong, too slow, too even, like something that had learned how humans breathe, but did not quite understand why. She did not move. She did not scream. She just sat there, and it sat there, and they both waited. This is what she told me happened next. 4 stories, 4 churches, 4 people who walked in and found something that should not have been there. Not demons from movies, not the sound effects from horror films, something quieter, something that waits. Part 1. The Congregation. It was a small town in Alabama, the kind of town where the church is the center of everything. Weddings, funerals, Sunday dinners. Daniel grew up there. He knew every pew, every crack in the plaster ceiling, every window where the afternoon light came through amber and gold. So when he came back to help clean out the church after the flooding, nothing should have surprised him. The water had gotten into the lower level. The church had been closed for 3 weeks. He went in alone on a Tuesday afternoon with mops and rubber gloves and absolutely no reason to be afraid. The church felt different, not different the way places feel, different after years. Different like something had moved in while it was empty. The air was heavier than it should have been, not wet from the flooding, just present. He started near the altar. The light came through the windows the same way it always had. But the pews, he noticed it slowly, the way you notice something wrong in a room before you can name what it is. There were impressions in the cushions, every pew, every seat, as if the entire congregation had just stood up and left. The flooding had been 3 weeks ago. No one had been inside since. He stood there for a long time, looking at those impressions. Then he heard it, coming from the back of the church, from the direction of the stairs that led down to the basement. Singing, low, quiet, without melody, like something that had heard singing once and was trying to remember it. Daniel left. He did not take his mops. He did not lock the door behind him. He told me later it was not the sound that made him leave. It was the moment the singing stopped, the moment he realized it had been waiting for him to notice it. That church was eventually demolished. The official reason was flood damage. Story 2 is from New York, and it started with a locked door. Part 2, The Door. Marcus was 17. His mother's church held evening services on Wednesdays. Youth group, Bible study, nothing unusual. He had been going for 2 years. Then, one Wednesday, the regular youth pastor did not show up. A different man led the session, older, someone Marcus did not recognize. He assumed a substitute. The session ended early. The other kids left. Marcus forgot his jacket. He went back inside. The church was dark. He found his jacket where he had left it. He was about to leave when he noticed the door at the back of the hall, the one that was always locked, the one that led to the older part of the building, the section that had not been used in years. It was open, not just unlocked, open, a rectangle of darkness. Marcus was 17 and curious and not yet afraid. He stepped toward it. The smell stopped him. Not decay, not mold, something chemical, bitter, like the smell of a hospital mixed with old candle wax. He heard voices, quiet, low, rhythmic, not praying. The rhythm was wrong for prayer, more like recitation, like something being repeated so many times It had lost all meaning. He did not go in. He stood at that doorway for what felt like a long time, though he thinks it was probably only a few seconds. Then he heard footsteps on the stairs, coming up toward him. He ran. He never went back to that church. His mother still goes. He has never told her why he stopped. 3 stories like these, and you start to notice the pattern. It is never what you expect to find. It is what was already there, waiting to be found. Story 3 is the one about the confessional. Part 3, the confessional. Her name was Claire. She was a college student. The church was near her campus. Old, stone, built in the 1800s and repaired so many times it had layers, like scar tissue over scar tissue. She went in on a Tuesday afternoon, not for confession, just to sit somewhere quiet. The campus had been loud all week. She sat in the confession booth. The priest came in and out. Then he left. The church went quiet. That is when it started. From the other side of the thin wooden partition, the side where the priest sits, something breathed. She assumed she had been wrong about the church being empty. She waited for him to speak first. That is how it works. You wait. The breathing continued. Too slow, too measured, like something counting seconds between each breath. She knocked gently on the partition. Nothing. She said, "Is someone there?" Silence. Then the breathing again. Closer, right against the partition. She could hear it through the thin wood. Slow, deliberate, like something pressing its face against the divider to hear her better. She left the booth. The priest's side was empty. Not just empty of a person, empty the way a room is empty when the window has been open in winter. Cold, not the cold that comes from temperature, the cold that comes from something having been present that is no longer present. She stood in the aisle for a long time. Then the breathing started again. From inside the booth she had just left. From her side, she left the church. She moved apartments the following semester across town, far from any church. She still checks the corners of quiet rooms before she sits down. Story 4 is the shortest. Not because it is the least frightening, because the person who told it to me stopped speaking after the last sentence and did not continue. Part 4, the one she could not finish. Her grandmother took her to church every Sunday for the first 12 years of her life. Same church, same pew, 3rd row, left side. When her grandmother died, she went back for the funeral, sat in the same pew, 3rd row, left side. The service ended. People stood up and moved toward the exit. She stayed seated for a moment, the way you do when a place holds something of the person you have lost. Then the woman next to her stood up. She turned to look. The woman was already at the door, moving away, but the impression in the pew cushion, the one where the woman had just been sitting, was still warm. She reached out and pressed her hand against it. Warm. And then she realized she had been alone in that pew the entire service. An empty seat. That had been warm the entire time. She looked at the door. The woman was gone. She looked at the empty seat. She did not tell me what happened next. She said some things you do not finish telling. I did not push her. If you watched until the end, write in the comments which story you will think about tonight when the room goes quiet. There are more stories like these, from places like this, sacred places that are not as empty as they look. Subscribe. They live nearby.